Welcome to Ojas Oasis. This is a place where you will learn how to optimize your body, mind, and spirit in ways you have longed for a long time, perhaps your entire life. Our mission is to help you cultivate, nourish, and protect your ojas, your immunity, and inner peace. We're jumping right in here today. I love it. A seasoned fellow podcaster, which I have yet to have on the podcast. I have never interviewed another podcaster, so this is so fun. Not only are you a fellow Ayurvedic practitioner and clinician and entrepreneur, but the fact that you also steward a platform to teach Ayurveda, make it accessible to the general public, and help this initiative of spreading awareness of this amazing knowledge feels really special to have you on. So, Dylan Smith, welcome to Ojas Oasis.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Sasha. And also to you, I'm grateful for you being a steward and sharer of the Ayurveda wisdom. And as you mentioned, when we're offline, to do this in a collaborative way expands that ripple effect of spreading this wisdom of life.
Thank you. It's very much in alignment with the spirit of Ayurveda, with all the
Yes.
Vedas.
Right.
So, thank you. So, I love to start with the question, as you may have already discovered if you have taken a peek into previous episodes. I love to ask my fellow, practitioners how the Vedas found you or how you found the Vedas.
Wow. Such a long
Mm.
answer and something I get asked a lot, but it's okay. I will give the variety of the dynamics of the stories and all the different levels that comes. And I guess the real ultimate way is through Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who was really a wonderful saint and great rishi, of course, great seer, who spread the Vedas in the West, and of course was famous for teaching transcendental meditation, this meditation technique. And that's essentially how my parents learned to meditate when I was around 5 or 6 years old, and then I ended up learning also when I was 6 years old. And that was like the seed of the Vedas in my life, literally through a Bīja mantra, through a sound, a seed sound, which I would not meditate daily like adults do, but rather just have this mantric seed of a sound to pick up on whenever I would be feeling stress as a child. And it would be a very intuitive thing. It wouldn't be like, okay, I'm stressed, I can meditate to help that. It's just, I would, whether it was getting a injection at school or dipping my toes into very hot water, automatically that Bija mantra would be I would chant that in my mind, and that would be the thing to ease me into that stressful situation. So that's how the seed was planted. And then I continued my life as a regular person growing in middle class, growing in Eastern Australia, and went through high school and teenage and all that stuff, and stopped meditating. And then it was around the time of when I was finishing my high school, around 17 years old, and my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, and chose to heal it with Panchakarma instead of conventional chemo and radio as suggested. So went to Panchakarma, and she was going once or twice a year in India, and took the kids, once or twice as well. And that kind of planted some more seeds. And then finally I went to Panchakarma separately with a friend at the time, and nothing to do with my family. And that's when I was inspired to start studying Ayurveda. And that's when I started studying. So that's
That's so
a bit of
beautiful.
a story.
Wow. So, your mother is fully recovered.
Yes, she's doing
Mm-hmm.
pretty, recovered from that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she's recovered. She's great, and she had a great journey, and it's continuing in many ways. And this was a while ago.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, that's a story. Um, it really feels like, well, any child of yogis or uh, parents who know about the Vedas, I mean, that's some good karma right there, right? Like, that baby's going to come in and they're going to have their parents are their teachers, and that's like a fast track in. I mean, you must know that by now, I'm sure, but what an amazing head start you got, you know?
Yeah, I'm grateful. And then you look at the next generation, like my son, who, started this preconception and has receiving all the Shodhana Saṃskāras, like the 16 rites of passage in the Vedas, and the amount of Shakti that brings. uh, those Shodhana Saṃskāras are really amazing. And it's the first time I've witnessed them so intimately, because obviously they start from when the fetus is in the belly. You do some certain samskaras, some certain rituals, and then when they're born, and then 11 days after they're born, and 21 days. So it's this sequential administration of ritual, which is cultivating a very rich life full of the Vedas. And what are the Vedas is this energy, this vibration, and that's the vibration that is going to start in individuals and then ripple out to communities and societies and countries. So it is fascinating, Sasha, to witness uh, the karmas in play with all the different people and generations.
And doing it consciously, seeing how the torch gets passed. And now
Mm.
you're the one, you know, sort of like channeling this to the next generation. That must be such a beautiful thing to see every day and to just watch that.
It is.
Hmm. I know 16 is a large number and this isn't our topic today, but you've sparked my curiosity and I have to follow that organically. Can you do a very brief overview of exactly what that process looks like?
Okay, I'll try to remember. But basically it starts in the belly. So that is called Simana Totvam. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but this is the quote unquote baby shower of when the woman is pregnant, and the pandit will come and they'll do a ceremony, and similar time that Western people practice baby showers, but it's around the 7th month of pregnancy, where they'll do a ritual of drawing a line from the umbilicus to the basti marma, the bladder, and also up to the crown chakra, and basically realigning the fetus, also doing some certain mantras to rid them of any excess amniotic fluid, and just cultivating a healthy fetus. So that's beautiful ceremony with friends, and no champagne and stuff. But anyway, so baby shower, then the baby's um, birthed. Okay, there's one which is kind of related, which is called Swana Prashna, which is like baby immunization of giving some honey and gold and herbs onto their
Mm,
mouth,
mhm,
even before the breast milk.
mhm.
So that's very early on. And then on the 11th or 21st day, depending on what you like, usually it's 21st, because it's just more time, is the naming ceremony, Namakarana. And that's a very big ceremony. And of course, it's not a ceremony where, unfortunately, in India, they have 200, 300 people come see the baby when they're only 21 years old, where we kind of want actually to keep it intimate. So Namakarana naming ceremony, a beautiful ceremony of writing the name in rice in Sanskrit, and really enlivening the qualities, and not just their name, but their birth details, and really bringing that soul more into this world through name and form. The name is so important, as we know in Sanskrit. It's the sound which enlivens that phenomena, or that form, in this case, a baby. So we're really enlivening them as a more tangible relative being in this world. And so naming, and then there is of course the 1 year old is one of them. 1 year old, and again the name has lost me. That's a yagya, and again this is Vedic astrology anniversary, not just like, okay, you're born on the 1st of September, so 1st of September next year. No, it's when the actual anniversary, when their Vedic birthday is. When's the actual anniversary of the stars and the moon, and what's the actual planetary anniversary of when they were born? Because that's the that enlivening factor once more in a year later. And then after 1 year, there is, I missed the eating, first time of eating. So that is Anaprashana, very beautiful ceremony again, either at 5 months and 5 days, or ideally 6 months and 6 days, when the baby is given their first solid food, which is usually basically like a rice porridge, and really beautiful ceremony as well. There's some fun games that are done during that ceremony, where they put in front of the baby, they're usually crawling around 6 months, and they'll put like a few objects, and particularly objects. They'll put some cash, they'll put the Bhagavad Gita or a holy book, they'll put some gold and some food and they put them out, and then they let the baby crawl down the hall, and whatever one they choose first is kind of an indicator. Is it wealth? Is it more knowledge? Is it more earth element? Or is it more Lakshmi or like that? So, and there's the string ceremony, the holy thread, the Yagya Pravitam, which is when a ritual to take a vow in giving wisdom and maintaining sattva, purity. And that's usually done when a child is around 7, or well, that's for the boys, and then girls have their own. So it's around 7 years old, or 9 years old, or 11 years old. And then there are things like marriage, and I'm yeah. And there's even some, so when they're 60 years old. There's one when they get more into that kind of sannyasi
Mm.
stage, when they've kind of finished their householder duties, or that phase of not completely finished, but moving on to a more life of wisdom and inwardness and more leisure.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm. You can look them up. They're common things, but the thing is, a lot of people have lost the essence of them. Even our pundit, who's like a good friend, Indian pundit, is just so excited when we do these samskaras, when we call him and fly him over to do these, because it's he does them for Indians, but not everyone does these the full samskaras. They do it just to tick the box, or just to they want some effect, but really understanding the essence of what they trigger through certain mantras and certain offerings of precious substances creates these effects which they were designed to do.
Mm.
Something I'll be teaching more in the future, Sasha, when I get go through them more. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
done them all.
I know there's baby's first bath, the first abhyanga. The oil is
Yes,
big, 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 big. Building that early bala, that
definitely.
strength. And also the first haircut, things
Yeah,
like
that's one
this.
of them.
Mm-hmm.
Haircut and ear
Mm-hmm.
piercing also.
Mm-hmm. Ear
Yeah,
piercing.
haircut's a big one, around 11 months.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I just love that we're able to go down that corridor really quickly and then come back because it's fun. it's
Yeah.
it's like going on a tour of a really beautiful house, which is, of course, representing like, all of this knowledge. It's just which room
Mm.
do you want to go into? And when we were talking about potential topics, I was just like, well, I don't know. Let's just do one that seems right now to be something that I think that there's a lot of misinformation, which there's a lot of misinformation about a whole lot of things. But, when it comes to exercise, I feel like people either love it or hate it. There's very few in
Mm.
between. There's in the West, there seems to be a big focus on high intensity training and like just things that are very intense. Like I was a marathon runner for 10 years before I
Oh,
found
wow.
Ayurveda. Hmm. And before that, I was a competitive tennis player for 10 years. And exercise has been something that I've always just gravitated toward, like as a natural athlete, and I love it. But then as I discovered, Ayurveda, and that I was a pitta, and the ways in which I was abusing my body, not knowing that, but sort of always equating exercise with discipline and, almost like punishment. Like if I had indulged in foods that were really, high in fat and carbohydrates, I would think, okay, well, I need to like deserve that, or I need to burn that, or I need to, you know, how could I? Like, I don't know. There was just always this kind of connotation with it. And Ayurveda challenges and reinforms us on everything, and exercise is no exception. And I love the way I went into your library on Vital Veda, and I just saw that you were talking about, Vyāyāma, the discipline of, moving your body, the exercise. And I'm just thinking, well, we're talking more and more. We're bringing yoga in, and again, also illuminating the fact that yoga is beyond asana, right? But beyond asana, there's like many different aspects of exercise and the way that we do the asana. It's not just, you know, going and like putting a YouTube video on and just following whatever you're seeing. It's I'm really hoping to shed more light on how learning about your body through Ayurveda and learning about the principles, the Ayurvedic principles around this key pillar of health can help people choose the right way to push their bodies, because it's in some ways it's really great to see what your body's capable of, and but I think a lot of people really toe the line of depleting and overexerting and overdoing. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got the people that are just like, this is torture. This is not enjoyable. Why would I want to do that? That seems miserable, right? So there's like the two ends of the spectrum, and then there's Ayurveda right in the middle, which we are always working toward um, maintaining and understanding what that looks like.
And also different people who were movement coaches or exercise coaches who were also in the middle and basically practicing Ayurveda but don't even know what Ayurveda is. So people who have gone through, maybe like you, have been athletes and have gone through the the extreme ends of the spectrum and have actually come to a sustainable and enjoyable way of moving their body and exercising, Vyāyāma.
Mm.
And very interesting. You live in Boulder, did you say,
I'm
or
in
is
Boulder now. Mm-hmm.
right? And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't surprise me that you're living in Boulder and you used to be a marathon runner. Like there's a lot of hiking and marathon, and yeah, it's very interesting because you. I'm glad to speak with you about this topic now because exercise is not my main topic that I speak on, but um, the fact that you've gone through that, and because I'm the opposite. I like went from meditating, not moving my body much, and more operating through my consciousness, and now like, and it's a common thing I see in the meditation world is like, oh, you ain't moving a lot. You think you can just transcend everything? Like, come on, you got to also attend to your body, and that's also where Ayurveda comes in, that real earth element, body addressing factor.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
nice.
Good. Well, I was going to ask you how you would define uh, ideal exercise in the Ayurvedic framework.
Well, yeah, the thing. I mean, there's so many things you can reference shastras, which are the shlokas, the Ayurvedic verses, which talks about that. But I think exercise in Ayurveda, it's called Vyāyāma, and it's really which brings energy to the body, which makes the body feel nourished. So some people get really hungry after exercise, but rather you should feel fed with energy and prana, and yeah, feel nourished, feel strong, feel energized, and that's it. Makes you feel good and brings there's shlokas in Ayurveda which talks about bringing lightness to the mind and to the body, langanam, and improves the digestion. That's a big one, and as many people experiences an increase in the digestive strength. And yeah, there's this beautiful word in Ayurveda called ganakathatvam, which means like ganagatatvam. You can feel it. It means like well built, like solid. It's that quality of kapha, very balanced kapha, and it brings that solid, well built factor in the mind, in the body. So that's kind of the definition of vyayama.
That's beautiful. That's such a beautiful way of looking at it. Something that actually gives you energy,
Yeah,
right? That's also that's like already a huge
big
par-
difference.
paradigm
Yeah,
shift.
and the hungry one also. Like yes, it increases the agni, but we should feel like more masterful of that. Like, okay, I need to now ravish a high protein meal after, but like, actually, I feel fed with prana, with life force.
Mm.
So I can keep going. I don't need food, or yes, I can fit, especially if it's more, muscle work, then yes, more protein required. But yeah, feeling nourished in all those levels.
How can people align their exercise routine with their prakriti and their vikriti?
I would say mainly focus on the Vikriti, uh,
Mhm.
because that's the current state. We want to
Mhm.
be present in what the person's experiencing. So definitely, and with people who are Vata, who have increased like a Vikriti of Vata or excess Vata, then they need Vata is movement or uh, yeah, Gana, Chala, like a lot of movement, a lot of quick actions, fast, irregular actions. So for them, definitely they need regularity. Like that's the best thing for Vata is
Yes.
regularity. So regular routine and exercising regularly, and that really you have to bring into. You have to enjoy the exercise. It should not feel a chore. It should not feel like I'm doing for 40 days to help this. Like you can do those things initially, have some discipline like that to kind of motivate you to get you on the ball, but you should enjoy it. And definitely the regularity for Vata is so essential.
Mm.
And basically also regular times around approximately if they can. But again, not too much. Like, don't be in gyms with indoor air conditioning and lights and also don't be in a very windy environment outside if you're going to do it outside, but ideally it's a reasonably okay environment outside in natural light that will also keep vata in steady place. And so yeah, and not doing too much excessive exercise, definitely. So taking it slow. Vata needs slow and stable exercise. Pitta, who will tend to overdo things, needs moderation, that excess drive. So the key with pitta in general, always to balance pitta is moderation and leisure. People
Mm.
pitta people need leisure. Like they find it hard to do nothing, to actually do no thing. And so
Hmm.
with the exercise, I would
I
say
don't
for
know what
pittas.
you're talking about, Dylan. No idea what that's like.
Yeah, well, that's the practice. It's
I'm
like
kidding.
try, just kick your feet up and read a book or sit in the sun and do nothing.
Mhm.
But pitta people definitely to do slowly. Like Vata people, it's a different type of slow. Like they should feel like if they should not feel like they're in a rush, but Pitta people should purposefully do the practice slower. For example, Surya Namaskar, sun salutations, which is one of my favorite exercises for people for so many reasons. Um, like if you're going to do, say, 8 of them or 7 of them or 13 of them, whatever you choose, or one of them, do it super slow. Don't rush and don't look at the time and don't try to, and particularly when you're exercising, if you've got injuries or you're trying to use exercise or you are using exercise part of your recovery tool or part of a healing tool for some musculoskeletal disorder or whatever, some injury, definitely slow is really important because if you're going to excessively do that, for example, if you have a hernia and you start doing excess, it's going to put that out, or you have some issues, arthritis, that's going to make that worse. So it's really, and people, it's very hard for them to slow down. So you really got to like take that as a practice and as a rejuvenating, like a generating energy when you do it slow. Then okay, I'm going to finish 10 Surya Namaskars. That's my goal. And if I do that, but actually, if you do that really slowly, like instead of doing one Surya Namaskar in 2 minutes, maybe take 5 minutes or 6 minutes, and that's generating energy and just generating prana, which is going to heal and create so much more effects, which is what you desire. And then cover people need to do also daily. Like everyone needs daily, but Tough people really need that almost like more stimulating exercise. They have a capacity, particularly if it's kapha increase, and especially if they have kapha prakriti, they have a capacity for strong exercise, for more strength building, more strength training, and but they need to keep going. They should not stay out of. It's like the snowball effect. When the snowball keeps rolling down the hill, like it just doesn't stop. That's what kapha needs. If it does stop, then they'll stop for a month or whatever. And with everyone, there's so many principles or a few principles that I recognize, but one of them is just mouth breathing should not be done via exercise, and
I was just
nasal
thinking that.
breathing will keep a lot of, especially for vata, the mouth breathing will activate the sympathetic, the flight or fight, and create more stress. Vata people, Vikruti especially, they are always they're too they're in flight or fight too much in a day. So adding on an hour intensity of exercise or CrossFit or HIIT or high intensity exercise for Vata is going to create a lot, like a very strong flight or fight response for them. So the best way to regulate that is ensure you're always nasal breathing.
Mm. Yeah. I was thinking also time of day, of course,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
um, and duration.
Yeah, so time of day is definitely very important. In general, to do on a light or empty stomach, ideally empty stomach. And this is a big thing as well that people miss in the West. And I'm sure, like, hopefully, people listening really can understand that. And from experience, like when you exercise, when you've had a good bowel motion in the morning and you're on an empty stomach, the exercise is so much more effective. You have a greater range of movement. You have a greater capacity. It's less strenuous. You're not carrying around a ball of undigested amma in your gut. So, or or just a ball of food that's partially digesting or whatever. So morning is the best. It's part of the dinnerchari in the morning. It can be done in the kapha time around 6 till 10 a.m. when the body's stronger, before breakfast or before eating, or even just before milk. Like really we want to have it, or before coffee, whatever. Like complete empty is ideal. And if you want to do again in the, before sunset or around that time, when the kapha is coming again, or yes, you can do if required, but that can be more restorative practice and more healing practice, particularly for injuries, if you need to do continue exercises throughout the day. But the best is doing it throughout the day, moving throughout the day, moving. And there's like a difference between moving and exercise, because, Veda Vyāyāma is that practice, that more vigorous, exercise. And then there's movement, which really should be maintained, which I guess they didn't speak so much about in Ayurveda thousands of years ago, because they didn't have a sedentary lifestyle like we did. So like we do now. So yeah, time of day, really what suits people is the main thing, just to be getting a regular exercise daily routine whenever suits you. And somewhat regular is good also, to have a regular time. So okay, I'm going to do it every morning before my breakfast, or part of my morning routine. Or I've got kids and I really don't have any more time in the morning because of my job, so I'm going to do it mid-morning, when my breakfast is well digested, and before lunch, where the kids are at school and I have a time of window, or whatever you choose to do. Or you might have a fast day that you practice maybe fortnightly or monthly, or weekly even, and that could be a time where you do more different. You have kind of a longer extended day of practice.
Mm.
So yeah, that's time of day. And the other thing you asked was
Duration.
duration. Like in Ayurveda, they talk about a muhurta, which is 48 minutes. This beautiful time period of complete time period of able to completely nourish the seven tissues of the body. Uh, if you kind of say, the lymph, the blood, the lymph, or the plasma, the blood, the muscle, the fat, the bone marrow, and the reproductive tissue. These tissues can get nourished and balanced through any practice, whether it's exercise or through meditative practices, as well as Ayurvedic treatments, like for example Shirodhara or other practices. So
Abhyanga.
yeah, Abhyanga definitely. But Abhyanga is usually longer than that. But for exercise or walking, even, or sunbathing, when these are practiced for a muhurta of 48 minutes in responsible ways, right? Obviously, we're not going to say to a 80-year-old, 85-year-old person with arthritis, you need to do Surya Namaskar for 48 minutes. But that has a very holistic practice. So that's kind of one measurement, but that's very generalized and it's so different for everyone. Definitely timing is different for everyone according to your situation, to your body. Ayurveda talks about exercising until you get sweat on your forehead,
Mm.
or until you feel half of your capacity, and that's a big one, like big challenge for the West. And it's not easy to measure, like what is half of my capacity, but definitely not pushing yourself. These things will pushing yourself and feeling pain, or feeling like it's very strenuous, or no pain no gain, like that kind of mentality will create results in like bodybuilding and stuff like that, and maybe short-term effects, mostly bodybuilding, for those who want a six pack or biceps quickly and a certain way. But actually, if we look at a more health perspective and longevity perspective and sustainable perspective and injury-free perspective and preventative factors, then Ayurveda is very wise. That's why we have podcasts about it.
Mm-hmm.
Basically half of your capacity, and that why it says half is really because the recovery. That second part is for to recover, and it'd be interesting to see you Sasha, to monitor you like for the next few decades, because
Mm.
me and many practitioners that I know, really, out of all the marathon runners I've seen, it's probably 100% of them have serious injuries. And they're mostly older than you. They've been doing it for a while. Like it seems like you did for 10 years, which is still a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But, um, you ask any health practitioner about their patients as marathon runners, and none of them, all of them have injuries,
Mm-hmm.
like literally joint injuries. And you can't not when you're running on concrete, unless you're like ultra marathon doing it on like sand with barefoot, or I don't know, like kind of these more pitta uh, exercise fiends, but they're taking it to a natural setting or more primal exercise. Like definitely there's people who are suitable for that and who can do it in a safe way. But yes.
That was my dream, Dylan, was to be an ultra marathon runner. And I loved all things extreme, always. I mean, no surprise. I didn't know why. I didn't know why I was drawn to these things, but ran my first marathon at 18. And it was the
Mm,
New York Marathon of all marathons. It's like the hardest marathon to get into in the US. I had to raise money. I got in through, raising money for a good cause, for cancer research, actually. And I trained, my freshman year at Syracuse, my freshman year of college, uh, literally was just training for the first few months of that transition, which is kind of wild in retrospect, thinking about taking that on top of just that life change. But I have always been drawn to those types of activities, and I did get injured. That's what actually led me to, that's my story to the Vedas.
mm,
Actually, that's that
mm,
injury, the torn labrum, that became an ego death of my, past runner self. Although I think once a marathon runner, always a marathon runner, right? So I only really officially did 4 full marathons, but I was doing like a bunch of half marathons, and I was doing races a lot, like almost every weekend. I was doing
wow.
some form of 5K, 10K, 15K, 20K, whatever. And like about like 13, 14 half marathons. And growing up, I played tennis a lot. I mean, tennis is like in my cellular memory now. Of I can go 5 years without playing tennis. You bring me back on a court, it's just all there, right? The memory of the form and the muscle memory. So I really relate to what you're talking about, in terms of like, injuries and the consequences of pushing yourself, not listening to your body. That's kind of what you have to do as an athlete a lot of the time. When you want to up level and train, you're like, well, I want to get faster. You got to go a little harder. You got to wake up earlier. You got to uh, literally run faster, right? Or if you're just a marathon runner, it just becomes a matter of the distance
Mm,
and being with your mind for that long when you're in pain, and trusting that you can push through that, because you ultimately, it's called the runner's wall. Ultimately you do push through that, and then you get this runner's high, and then that becomes a really addicting cycle in
mm,
and of itself. Of, well, if I there's a reward system for ignoring your body, right? So that creates that neuropathway of like, oh, if I ignore my body, mind over body, then okay, the mind gets really strong. Okay, that's good. And what's happening to the body? Kind of miss that part of the equation. And I learned through getting injured, and then from doing a yoga teacher training, to reframe it all. And I think that's going to be a really important nugget of wisdom for listeners, that are tuning into this episode of former marathon runner, just you can do incredible and like the high intensity or high endurance activity, but ignoring your body is just not the most sustainable route. You might have a very short lived running career. And I am very gentle with myself now. So, to answer your question of like seeing how it's going to play out over the course of my life, it's wow, I've really changed the way that I exercise.
Mm.
Most of my exercise now is walking in nature,
Mm.
um, and yoga. And I'm not really that interested in like peak postures. I don't need to do a handstand. I'm fine. Like, I want to enjoy it. Like, I go to yoga class and I'm like, I'm here to feel my body, feel good in my body, and give my body what it needs, which is what you said: nourishment, prana, feeling alive, feeling like circulation, feeling like every dhatu is being,
Mm.
yeah, given that
Right.
dose of prana that it needs. So,
Yeah, and I want to
yeah.
honor in you the athlete and the one who loves to engage in these adrenaline activities, if it's adrenaline and dopamine and
It's the
the,
challenge that I like.
yeah, all that. It's great. And it's like, and I wasn't just referring to acute injuries. I was more referring to the people who are in their 60s who have done this for, yeah, maybe 20 years, maybe 10 years, and their bones are completely degenerated and joints, more joints. But for you, I can already see like how well you've recovered. And for those who do want to, like, again, I want to honor that athlete in people and who want to, some people's it's their nature and we should honor that and not dismiss that. But it's like, to what extent do you want to live that karma, that dharma? Do you want to turn that into kriya, into kind of flow and perform those actions, and that yearning to perform and move and compete maybe? Do you want to do that in a way that is with moderation and really having adequate recovery, and therefore taking care of your body, balancing it? It's just, well, everything's about balance. Or do you want to just, as you said, forget about the body? I'm just going to push myself because my main goal is to finish the marathon. Like, there was this patient last year, not even 6 months ago, at Panchakarma, and he was doing Panchakarma, and he said he could not believe how his knees felt, like mainly from the leech treatment. Actually, we
Wow.
moved ama into the joints, and then we took them out with leeches through bloodletting. Leech, for those who don't know, leech is a registered medical device in many Western countries and hospitals. Anyway, it
You mean
takes toxins
Eastern?
out.
Eastern.
No, Western. In
Western.
Australia alone, in the state that I live called New South Wales, there are at least 30 mainstream hospitals that use leeches because leeches have the most powerful anticoagulant known to man. There's no better anticoagulant that, so they kind of covertly do it, but occasionally you'll see in the mainstream newspapers an article about leech therapy used in hospitals because someone's nose gets chopped off or in an accident and they want to sew it back on. There's no better way to bring blood flow back to that area to after they've sewed it on to stabilize the chopped off nose than a leech. So it's in Australia, it's a registered medical device. There's farms that sell them to doctors and hospitals. And similarly with the Europe and US, I'm not sure, but I'm sure it's there. And yes, East has been using it for a long time in Ayurveda. It's a divine instrument. So his knees felt, he could not believe it. He was like, I forgot how my knees felt. And then he starts talking about how he wants to do a marathon every weekend for a year, for 52 marathons. And I'm like, but he was saying, I know, like even my coach, he's new to this also. He's like, even my coach, who's a marathon coach or whatever, he's like, talks about, tendonitis and all these things, which it's a known thing. You want to do this, you're going to have tendonitis, you're going to have issues. So, okay, if you want to do that and you want body to suffer, great. I'm still here to help you recover, and as to some extent, but it's like, Hayam Dukam Anagatam. Hayam Dukan Anagatam is a classic Vedic saying, avert the danger which is yet to come. And that is what Ayurveda is about. It's about prevention. Like if you are every day giving yourself an oil massage, that prevents so much in the future. It prevents acute injuries from running marathons, or if you are going to be a rugby player or whatever, it will help buffer it. It definitely won't stop. A worse than marathons is the rugby players. By 30, 40, they're full of injuries and things which are going to stay with them for their whole life, probably. And we can help reduce them with Ayurveda and herbs and treatments and Panchakarma. But a lot of them is, you said you retired your career in your injury. I've met people who have retired in their 20s, in their mid 20s, rugby players who had one knee injury. And it's not just from a serious injury, it's just the damage of constantly colliding and all this.
Hmm.
So avert the danger which has not yet come. That's from the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And then, you know, um, Ayurveda, the aim of Ayurveda is to prevent, maintain health in the healthy. And I think if people can really understand that this is the key of Ayurveda is maintaining health, then they won't put themselves through things which is ultimately a slow suicide.
Mm.
And the reason why they may do that is pragyaparad, is the main cause, is the mistake of intellect. It's like, why do people smoke when they know it's not good? It's like slow suicide. Why are people running marathons like you did, and you knew it wasn't good, but you had that high, which was almost addictive, like a drug or a kind of weird type of drug. It's that pragyaparad, right?
For me at that time, in full transparency, I also had an eating disorder. Not the whole 10 years, but for 3 of those years. And that, you know, so exercise for some people are a way to abuse their body. I say this as someone who's recovered from that. And I think many women, and I'm sure men, can relate. Um, Certainly, it's not a binary issue, but I'm just saying that, you know, with poor self perception or lack of love, right? Like lack of self love and reverence for the body, we do some terrible things to our bodies when we don't understand, how, like when we're not born into a family, for instance, where this knowledge is just readily available and we're not initiated. We have to go seek it. We have to go on a journey of suffering and, self-harming and
Mm,
it's not really truly genuinely wanting perhaps to abuse the body, but it's perhaps a numbing agent or a masking. And it can be put in that category of addiction, I think. Honestly, numbing, right? Dissociating from what's going on when you don't know how to deal with it and digest what's
mm,
going on in your life. And I think that's so many people. Um,
definitely. Especially when you have that eating disorder going on, and that's another factor on the mind. It's like you don't even know what to do. You don't even know what is good for you. Like, what actually should I be eating? I don't know. Like, my mind is so distorted from knowledge of itself, of myself, that I'm so confused how I should move, what I should do to my body, what should I put in it. And this is where Ayurveda really plays a role of coming back into yourself, like feel yourself, remove that darkness, that cloudiness of disillusion, that cloudiness of confusion, that cloudiness of distractions, of we call rakshasas, like negative demoniac energies, and simplify, like completely simplify your life and just feel yourself, be in the present. And there's many practices that can help achieve that and bring that back to dominance. And then from that place, start again. Okay, simple things, self-abhyanga, walking. Self-abhyanga or self-oil massage is such a good exercise. It moves the blood, it moves the lymph, it tones the muscles, it moves the fluids in the joints and lubricates the joints, especially for people who are really non-motivated or who can't move, like who are immobile to various extents, whether they're injured or whether they're very overweight or very lazy. just sit on a towel and move the blood and lymph with oil, and that's a great way to get things moving.
And establishing a healthy relationship with your body.
Definitely.
And
So
you know
for
that word sneha means love, and you're
mm,
really loving on yourself. I actually gave myself an Abhyanga literally right before we signed on to this
beautiful.
recording.
That's great.
Yeah, it's really interesting timing that we're talking about this because I was like, well, I could do it later, but I'm just feeling like I really need this right now. I didn't do it
Hmm.
yesterday. I feel it on the days that I don't give myself an Abhyanga. I really feel, especially in Boulder, like it's so
Mm.
dry here. So climate is a big part of the conversation I think we could address is yeah, so people living in super vata vitiating climate versus uh very hot
Yeah.
climate and then very cold or, overcast, like raining a lot and just
Yep.
feeling heavy and sluggish. So perhaps we could, you know, touch on that for a moment, just the geographic like
Oh, it's so important.
aspect.
We are in a world of the Mahabhutas, the five elements. Like, there's no doubt that it is so influential. As much as in Boulder, we try to put heating on in our houses and close all the windows. And in where I am, I've just had a cyclone literally a few days ago, or
Wow.
it got downgraded to a storm. So we're very wet and humid now. So as much as we try to, keep the dehumidifier on and all that stuff, like, we cannot insulate ourselves from the Mahabhutas in the environment. One of the main causes of diseases in Ayurveda is the seasonal change and the ritus, the seasons. So eh, what is outside is inside. So yes, so important for Boulder and mountains and that area to be regularly lubricating, and you
Hmm.
definitely will feel it if you don't. And not just through oil massage, but through good diet, dairy fats, and oil up the nose, nasya, and oil in the ears, and anything else that needs lubricated.
Internal ghee.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
So, and then yeah, for like where I am now, like when we've had a lot of rain and it's very humid, like more practices of nasya, of like expelling this kapha out the head and expelling the excess uh, fluids and heaviness and dampness which is accumulating in the respiratory tract, and moving moving well and getting into fresh air and breathing like prana, because when it's so wet it's like the prana is like constricted and heavy and damp. So we need to optimize that. And nasya, or sniffing medicated oil up the nose, Ayurvedic oils, is very effective in those conditions, in all conditions, because in the dry mountain area like where you are, it's again so important to prevent the brain from degenerating. And on the topic of exercise, like doing nasya, which is again another daily routine, just like Abhyanga, just like exercise, is Nasya Pratimarsha, which is daily application of oil in the nose. In fact, I'll just do it while we speak here in
All
case you do
right.
it then, because I got it here to do it every time I have a meeting. I kind of show my patients just like that, sniffing up the nose, and it it's the best way to lubricate the brain. I mean, nose is the gateway to the skull. So to prevent any neurodegeneration or like Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, that's the ultimate preventative tool. And to do before exercise is one of my favorite times to do, and one of my favorite times to recommend to clients, because you do it and then you breathe, you breathe in, you move your body, especially before pranayama or any exercise, when you're breathing more. So yeah, there's so many things to do but ultimately getting that's the beautiful thing about learning more about Ayurveda and the doshas, is you kind of can see the doshas in every moment, in every season, in every weather display of every environment. And then when you know the doshas, you kind of know what balances them and how to do it in yourself, and you can apply that to any moment wherever you are in the world.
I love that we kind of just organically went to recovery mode of exercise. Like, okay, you push the body. Now, how do you,
Right.
help in the recovery stage? Because a lot of people miss that part. They
Mm,
only do the wear and tear. That's it.
right.
Right. Same with the
Abhyanga is the
detox
best.
thing.
Mm. Abhyanga is like I think one of the best things you can do for recovery, and during, like when I get the clients who are, like you used to be, like exercising so excessively, because whatever their goals and ambition is, that's fine, but they really need to recover. And Abhyanga is like a very I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what's the best ways to recover, but that's such a efficient way. I mean, especially when using medicated oils, particularly we need a different oil, like on certain joints, we can really target and nourish and effectively recover and
Murray
rehabilitate.
Vena is great for the joints. I was going to say that that principle you were referring to earlier about exercising to half of your capacity is known
Mm,
as Ardha Shakti.
right.
I'm sure you already knew that, but it's just a fun, when you say it in Sanskrit, there's like you've been doing, there is a vibration and a frequency that it carries, and
Mm,
it's very potent, right? We could just say
yes.
oil massage, but we're saying abhyanga,
Yeah.
oil up the nose versus nasya. There's something different that happens when we use the Sanskrit. And I really appreciate how much you have been using the real Sanskrit and keeping it classical and authentic. And I don't shy away from that at all. I think that's a beautiful offering to the general public of saying, look, this is some really beautiful ancient knowledge, and we're kind of we don't want to appropriate it. We want to preserve it and protect
Mhm.
it and share it as it was intended. So I just wanted to quickly shine a light on that.
Yeah, love Sanskrit, and I'm happy to be on an Ayurveda podcast because I wouldn't do this speaking these words if it was a podcast from a different health modality.
Yay. Well, your Sanskrit knowledge is always welcome here, Dylan,
Thank you.
anytime.
Good to know.
Yes. I was going to ask you about literally how the Ayurvedic principles can be applied to recovery and post workout nourishment. But I feel like, again, we organically already touched on that. Nausea, applying the oil, and giving, honestly, you've been mentioning joints and arthritis a lot.
Mm,
Not a lot, but you've just mentioned it. And I just feel like maybe people ought to know about the special attention that we pay to the joints, and why. And I was also thinking, as you're talking about preventing the brain from degenerating, how we could do an an oil massage on the head, right, the scalp, and also taking care of the hair and the hair follicles, and just like a nice Brahmi oil on the head. Not perhaps maybe not every day, but maybe and there's different principles to doing the head than there are to the rest of the body. Same with fomentation. So maybe we could touch on
as I
that.
said, dinacharya is for prevention. If you're
Mm-hmm.
doing these practices every day, and it's principles, right? As you said, this is all about principles. Every day you should do exercise, but it's not just black and white like that. Like, that's a very masculine approach. Every day I'm going to wake up and do 1 hour of running followed by 2 hours, whatever. It's like, oh, a woman gets her menstrual cycle. Oh, a woman becomes pregnant. A woman gives birth. A man or woman or any gender gets sick with a cold or a flu. They have a virus. Like, so it's not exact. Or it's equinox. Or it's new moon. It's solstice. Like, things shift according to the rhythms, and you can adapt to that and integrate your dinacharya as you increase your sophistication and knowledge of the seasonal and planetary and cosmic influences, not in a strenuous way. Oh, it's new moon, I can't do this, or it's full moon, I have to do this. Like, you can you over time you increase your sophistication, and it's endless. But abhyanga is daily, and including the head. Shiro, the head abhyanga is the most important. Actually, it's called uh, uh it's lost me. But there's a word which says that abhyanga is head is the most important. Now, I don't expect you, Sasha, or anyone with long hair like you to every day put oil in your hair, but every day at least you just apply a little bit to the crown and press it in, just a few
Mm-hmm.
drops. And there's a quick abhyanga,
The
Shiro
marma
Shravana
there.
Pade, right? The crown, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a shloka which says Shiro Shravana Paresheshu, which means every day at least oil the Shiro, the head, the Shravana, the ears, and the Pad, the feet, and means the sole of the hands. So, and this is my prescription for those, like, when you missed it yesterday, or when you miss it, or you don't do it daily, you're not in that routine of doing it daily. Because for me, it's like a shower. It's like, obviously I shower every day. And most people, I think it's some people, not everyone, but most people like, yeah, showering every day is a no brainer. I don't think twice about it. It's not a chore. So similarly, like we wash our body every day, we need to add a layer of sophistication and not only wash our body, we need to put oil on it and massage it in. And that's going to, bring up the dirt from the skin and the lymph and the toxins onto the skin surface. And it's going to nourish the microbiome and move the lymph and move the blood. It's like we soap our body in the shower before that. Just add this. It has to be that foundational to showering or to bathing. So if you don't do that, maybe you don't have time because probably it can take you anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes once you get it, or even less. But if you don't have that, at least put oil on those parts of the body: the crown, the ears, the navel, and
Hands.
the soles.
Mm.
So, and that takes 20 seconds, like literally. And when we put oil on those marmas, because oil has that quality of sukshma, which means subtle, and it can go through all the subtle channels and penetrate the whole body. Like we put it on the hands, they go through the arms. So the power of just simply applying oil to those parts of the body is profound. And that's really part of the dinacharya. And then the nasya and the the exercise and sunbathing and meditating and all these things, like it it should be done with enjoyment, and it should be seen as a sophisticated thing. Don't see it as a complicated thing or complex or overwhelming. If it is, then you need to really peel back and start slower. Okay, after hearing this podcast episode, don't, if it's too overwhelming for you, don't do abhyanga and nasya and changing your exercise routine and eating more ghee and or whatever else we speak about. Just one thing at a time, and you need to own it. You need to own that practice. Ayurveda is the science of life. It's for life. It's not just, okay, I try this for a bit. Like, this is knowledge according to natural law on how to live in tune with the fundamental mechanisms of nature. This is for every person around the world, every gender, every climate condition, no matter what. You can apply it to any culture and tradition. Oil is a fundamental part of human body. It's fat. It's one of the 7 main tissues, and it's one of the most essential. So if it doesn't have to be an Ayurvedic oil. If you live in Alaska, maybe you're using the oil fat from an animal, if that you've hunted in the tribe. Like, so I can't remember your question on dinacharya.
That's all right. I was alluding to talking about the importance of like replenishing the oil in our
Right.
joints, since that synovial fluid over as we age
Mm.
decreases, and how
Yeah.
to prevent basically arthritis and like osteoporosis and just like
Right.
that bone density loss as we age. Because I think also as age is another factor of exercise. How old you are will,
Definitely.
and not just biologically, right? Or
Right.
sorry, not just chronologically, also biologically is what I
Right.
meant to
Right.
say.
Yeah.
um, and the way that we exercise is going to affect the way that we age,
Mm.
right?
Yes, definitely, definitely. That's why I said these rugby players who are in their 20s, they've got bodies and joints and bones of a 60-year-old. But yeah, Abhyanga is really key. In addition to Abhyanga, and that's really the best way to prevent this degeneration or to prevent Vata. And it's said, in addition to that, eating good fats in the food, like just mainly simplify, it's dryness, it's Vata. Vata is catabolism, it's degeneration. And that's what osteoarthritis is. That's what osteopenia and osteoporosis is, and everything but degeneration. So you need to lubricate. Abhyanga, ghee in the food, ghee up the nose, and sunshine is also very important. Like good vitamin D is
Vitamin
going to
D.
really replenish the bones, and getting it from the sun when possible, because that's going to give more photonic power rather than a supplement, which is just going to give a chemical signal. And yes, I understand if you're in Boulder in the winter, what are you going to do? Okay. You can either take some supplementation or some external creams, or maybe some red light therapy would be the best if that's going to get enough. But coupling Abhyanga with sun exposure is very powerful, because the Abhyanga also improves the skin's physiology and its ability to absorb the vitamin D from the sun, rather than the opposite, maybe getting burnt by the sun. So, I wrote an article once called "Why Are Sunbathers Still Low in Vitamin D?" And it's because these sunbathers, their skin can't even metabolize the cholesterol and the calcium from the sun into vitamin D. So they're just getting they're getting a tan, a beautiful tan, but their vitamin D levels are still low. So we need a proper skin, and this is, the Brajakapita. It's like, why am I getting melanoma or basal cell carcinomas or these skin cancers? It's not from the sun. It's because your skin physiology was weak. Your skin physiology was impaired. The pitta was not sufficient. It was not keeping the skin supple and balanced and lustrous and unctuous, but instead it was maybe a bit inflamed. It had a bit of circulating blood that was not so healthy, and therefore when maybe you get burnt, or nothing to do with the sun, you just uh, your immune system goes down, you're exposing your eyes to improper light, then BCC carcinoma establishes on the skin. So Abhyanga does so many things. Skin health and sun, really, really important for so many people for degenerative conditions, and something we should not fear, and something different cultures need to really reestablish a human sun relationship that's healthy.
Mm. Gosh, you just went to so many places that I'm so happy that you went into, like the specifics of, you know, like metabolizing the oil, right? And it's not just what we're introducing into our life and our lifestyle, the way that we're living. It's without proper uh, metabolic health, uh, that none of that's gonna matter, right? So same thing with how we eat, same thing with how we,
Definitely.
you know, apply anything, and even how you said enjoy doing it. That
Mm.
is also affecting how you metabolize what it is in fact you're doing. If you're
Yeah.
begrudgingly slapping that oil on, just like, oh, what a drag that I have to do this. Oh, my body. I wish it was just like, you know, did it for me or whatever. The consciousness, it plays such a key part. And that's the part, I think that's like the main adjuvant of the medicine is it's a consciousness based medicine, Ayurveda, right? We're not just prescribing people to go do things like a regular medical doctor. We're not just saying go home, exercise, eat, have your milk, take a walk. That's all great. But if you're thinking about all your stress in your life, or you're thinking about, oh, this sucks that you have to, reframing it and realizing you get to nourish your body because you are blessed with the knowledge of how to nourish your body. How lucky are you to A, have a body, B, to know how to take care of it, and C, to enjoy it, to enjoy this vessel that you've been gifted. And you can prevent a lot of unnecessary suffering in your life with this knowledge. Wow. Think about that.
Right.
Preventing injuries, just to bring it back to the theme of exercising. And I think it really belongs under a bigger umbrella of, let's not take our bodies for granted, right? Like we want to really draw awareness and attention to, of course, the complexity around this topic, even though it perhaps maybe people don't realize that it's such a complex topic. Maybe people are like, well, exercise, it's good for you. And if you're, by the way, guess what? If you're addicted to exercise, there's worse things you can be addicted to.
Yeah,
Or,
exactly.
you know what I mean? And vice versa. Like for the people who are allergic to exercise, as they claim, they're like, well, at least I'm not again, it's people are justifying over exercising or under exercising as, well, I'm a parent and I have kids and I am, doing a great job at work and doing all these other things. So what are you going to do? Right. You get older and exercise becomes less of a priority. And so this conversation feels like a much needed reminder, um, to our fellow human beings out here that this is something that this is safeguarding you, and it's important to know how to dose yourself properly with it, and realizing there's a really beautiful way through the Ayurvedic framework of developing a healthy relationship with exercise.
It's all about priorities, as you said. If you're not doing certain things that you want to do intuitively or in your heart, you're in a priority dilemma. So you just need to sort out your priorities. you have time. And another thing I forgot to add is, of course, herbs are very important in this situation of treating these degenerative conditions and preventing. In Ayurveda we have certain herbs such as rasayanas, that's which spreads the essence of life, which is taken daily, and that's another kind of like dinacharya. These herbs are taken daily for years, decades, and that is, I eat good, and I hope most people listening, and I'm sure you, Sasha, also, you strive to eat good food every day. You don't just want to eat organic food for a little few days just because it's good for you, but you're in that habit of, ideally, I'm going to strive to eat whole foods. I'm going to avoid processed foods and ultra processed things, and every day I want to eat good food. So similarly, every day I want to eat precious food. I want to eat herbs. And that is also going to really help prevent, because we're nourishing those tissues on a deeper level, and we're strengthening them and making them more adaptable to any uh, imbalance that arises or any stress that arises. So as a preventative, and also definitely treating, that plays a big role. Internal herbs and medicated oils on the skin, and then even medicated treatments like certain Ayurvedic treatments, and like type of Panchakarma treatments, or even without Panchakarma, you can do these treatments in most clinics around the world, including the West. Most Ayurvedic practitioners learn some very good treatments for the spine, for the knees. External busties is what they're
Mm.
called,
I was just
and
thinking external vasties. Yeah.
right,
Yep.
and then the organs as well. So all there's so many things you can do. I mean, we work with the people who are on the road to getting hip replacements and knee replacements, and who do get them also, and we still work with them and support their journey of that. So, and we work with people who prevent them, who don't end up needing them. So Ayurveda has a lot to offer in this area. It's very good with working with these deep conditions, but the priority is prevent it. So if you implement this stuff, and if you think it's expensive or time consuming, then try it when you need the hip replacement, or you need the
That's
spinal
right.
fusion, or whatever it is. And so instead of having that kind of fear, or doing it because I'm trying to prevent, really make it part of your lifestyle and enjoyable. And there's definitely a way to do that, and maybe you need to speak with a one-on-one practitioner and work out how to integrate it into your life in an enjoyable way.
I concur. I do believe that that's where our work comes into play. We're educators, but uh, we're also enabling this integration process, right? That's part of the work of an Ayurvedic practitioner or a
Right.
Vaidya, um, especially now. I mean, because this is all you're bringing this to Australia. I'm bringing it to America from India, and in a modern time where this is knowledge that is not common. Uh, some of it is very commonsensical, but it's uncommon common
Mhm.
sense. Of when you're dry, lube it up, right?
Yeah.
When you're feeling sluggish, kappas, you got to stimulate yourself. You got to move that blood. You have to move your body. But I just think this was such a beautiful, all encompassing conversation about something. Yes, it's the discipline of, moving the body, but I think we ended up going somewhere far beyond that, which is ultimately we want a stronger, nourished body, not
Mm.
just. I mean, and yes, it is a stress reliever too, right? So that's also another thing that people are using exercise for. But we can't forget that last step of Rasayana, that rejuvenative, restorative time post recovery, or post workout, I should say, of how we enable the sustainability of what we want this body to do, what we're asking this body to do every single day. Because even without exercise, it's already wear and tear. We're already doing a lot with our body,
Mm.
and so
You know what the biggest injury, physical injury I see in my clinic is?
I have no idea what would it be. Is it
Sitting at
going
a desk
upstairs?
for 8 hours a day.
Yeah. I was like sitting or climbing upstairs. Those were the two that it came to mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or picking up like their kid or something, bending over and just picking
Yeah.
up a toy.
But sitting, and that's where, and it's inevitable. Like, I also sit a lot more than I would like. So that's where, again, we can use it's like also I use devices more than I would like. I have electromagnetic fields more than I would like, but I'm choosing to do certain things in life which requires that, and therefore I need to implement protection strategies. I need to implement neutralizing strategies. So again, Abhyanga, prevent the nerve damage that's done by sitting so much, and all the things, the electromagnetic fields. So important to implement in the charya.
I just thought of the standing desk too. Now you have
Yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
like, it's a very adjustable situation where you can sit or you can. I mean,
Right.
again, that's an investment, but there are hacks to all of these
Oh yeah.
obstacles that are in people's way of. Oh well, there's no way around sitting all day. Well, there is, but are you willing
There
to
is.
invest in that solution? So there are solutions. You can get creative,
Yeah,
and
for working, like that's just I would like to just share that because this is something I do and I love it. So I change positions throughout the day. So I have a laptop, so I'll sit on, actually I have like a kneeling kind of chair, but anyway, even if it was a normal chair, I actually do both. I have right angle chair and I have a kneeling chair, and I stand and I do cobra on the laptop. Laptop's in front of me, or I lie on my belly and in cobra asana. And my favorite is working on my laptop on a coffee table. That way I'm near the ground. I can sit cross-legged, and I can sit in Vajrasana, which is diamond pose, and I can even sit in frog pose. And you can do so much. You can sit in pigeon pose and work on the laptop, both legs. You can sit with your legs right wide apart and work on the laptop. And it just depends how much workspace. I understand, like some people need like a full-on computer screens, and architects need more screens. But if it's a simple laptop work, and you don't have too many things, you could really move throughout the day into different postures to work for sure.
well, speaking of sitting, I know we've been sitting for over an hour in this conversation, and we're probably both getting antsy to move and stretch and release that lower back. But Dylan, I can tell you're just such a well of knowledge, and it, this was such a joy to go into depth on this topic with you. And I was going to extend it. I was thinking, oh, we'll have plenty of time to talk about Kundalini. Nope, not when you have that much.
Forgot you wanted to talk about that.
No, no,
Yeah.
no, no. This was perfect. I'm sure we'll have you back on and we can talk about Kundalini next time. But this, I feel, did deserve the amount of like a full episode unto itself. And so happy we got to meet for the first time and
Yes.
connect. And thank you, Jeff, for making that happen. Jeff Rep. And I'll let you get to your baby. I can hear him crying. He wants his papa.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Sasha.
Thank
Beautiful
you,
to meet you,
Dylan.
and much love. Thank
Be
you,
well.
Sasha.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Ojas Oasis with Sasha Brzezinski. To learn more about Ayurvedic healing, please visit ojasoasis.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, have your smile.